and then start recording.
Start streaming.
All right. See if we're on.
Testing this. So, guys, any of you that are jumping in with us today, understand that this is it's a little test. It's a little test run here.
Testy.
Yes, it's good. It's live.
We're live. All right.
So we've got some new gadgets that Eugene has put together, and we are testing them out right now. So obviously we're not going to have the best camera angles today, so no complaining. But this will improve it on the long term. But again, we wanted to do more live streams with you guys, but we didn't want to get into a situation where you're staring at the sides of our face constantly. We wanted to make sure we upgraded the sort of the production quality of it. So it's a work in progress.
We're working on it.
I mean, man, when you compare to the very first podcast we did,
it's so terrible.
We had we have a Yeti mic. And
did we share one?
I think we shared one the first time. We were sitting on your massage table, your work table that you had at your little spot up there when you were doing that, and we were like talking, and it sounded like it was an echo in the room. And so again, it's a work in progress. But you guys can listen here, watch here, or you can always go to the actual the audio quality is amazing. These damn mics are awesome.
It's been better. It's been getting. Now I do stuff like that.
What's wrong with the audio quality?
Oh, nothing's perfect.
I was about to say, yeah. It's good.
I'm just turning off my phone, so in case I want to watch you guys, see exactly what we're doing. But we have Justin Court on the podcast today.
Howdy.
Who is multiple-time Pan Am champion, multiple belt levels. What else? Justin's like, 135 pounds?
Yeah.
It's
maybe
where I compete at normally.
And he wrestles horses.
Yeah, and he likes to beat the crap out of everyone. So, Justin, you just competed Worlds as well. So now we can say Nogi Worlds.
Nogi Worlds, man.
Brown.
Yeah, third Nogi competition I've ever done.
Yeah.
Kind of sad, though, you think about it. And
third Nogi?
Yeah, well, being a brown belt now, it's like, I kind of pride myself in competing in the gi, and I think that I've probably should have competed more Nogi, but it just for some reason always favored the gi. But third competition Nogi ever. Yeah,
I it's so funny.
Wait.
Like forever, right? Isn't this funny? So when we were talking, you went. So Justin, again, he plays legs and stuff like that, but he's not like a leg locker per se. And we had this Nogi, he had a Nogi match at this little sort of local sort of super fight thing that they do. And he goes against this guy, and they get locked up in a 50-50 battle, and he heel hooks him.
Yeah.
And I remember we were at that little bar getting some food afterwards, and I come into the bathroom, and you're like, dude, I was so nervous. I'm like, whatever, man. And you were like, dude, was it your second?
No, that was
your
first
one. First Nogi match.
That was UGI. That was Adam Gomez's
first
thing.
Nogi match. Yeah. He's a primarily gi player. Gets in there and gets into a leg lock battle, wins with a heel hook. I mean, I thought it was kind of funny because it was something where you compete so much, and then I had to think about it. I was like, oh, he doesn't play, doesn't do a whole lot of Nogi, Why do you think that is? Why do you think he just didn't do Nogi more?
That's a good question. I think when I first started Jiu-Jitsu almost 10 years ago, I absolutely hated the gi. And at first, because coming from a wrestling background, I just didn't understand, the chokes and lapels and being able to cross-collar choke someone or even the Ezekiel choke. But eventually along the way, I fell in love with the gi. And in fact, I realized how useful it is and how much control you can have with gi. That was my primary focus. And it wasn't that I didn't like Nogi. For the most part, it was just every time I would go train, I just knew that I was going to be training in the gi, and that just kind of followed after. Didn't really attend a lot of Nogi classes, even when I made the switch over to Derby City years ago. It was here and there, but I never really thought that I would be competing Nogi. I always just saw myself to compete in the gi.
And and I think honestly, it's not that your game's perfectly fine. I mean, you've won stuff both gi and Nogi. It doesn't matter. But I think that just me thinking about it, a lot of times, especially when you get into Nogi, the physical abilities of someone really, to me, they shine more because, for instance, if I go with someone who maybe isn't as physically strong or whatever as me, a lot of times they can manipulate the gi in a way to where it it slows things down.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're a strong little like monster for your weight. And so I think that, you know, you being a Nogi, it's going to be tougher to deal with you because you're talking about like locking up, you know, hand on hand, like arm on arm. You're not being able to like I can lapel wrap you up and then hang on to you. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, we're like locked in and it's just arm on arm, less tangled up. And, you know, a lot of times, I mean, people say this all the time, like as you get older and you get like a little bit slower, a lot of times people like hanging onto the gi more.
Yeah, the gis.
Whereas I think that, you know, again, when you're talking about Nogi, you really can assert your physicality on someone a lot more. And I think that, you know, you being the sort of the build that you are, you're very physical for your, and even the way you play, you're very physical for your size and your style. So I think that's, it's honestly, I think you're probably going to be better in Nogi when you do it, probably more than you think. So.
Yeah, I think older guys like the gi. I feel like.
I mean,
slow
younger
the pace
people
down.
do. Some people, it's not universal. I know plenty of, you know, plenty of people that are younger and love the gi, love Nogi. I love older people that love both. It's, I mean, just it really just depends. I think honestly, what ends up happening is in what you just said. This happens so many times, and I've seen it, and I can't make people change. You know, but there's been so many times where people have come in. And they're like, yeah, I'm not really much of a no-gi person or much of a gi person. I've heard it from both. I'm like, you've been training for about 6 months. Like, how you gonna make that decision, you know? And then even like sometimes people will get really hung up on like a position or a technique or something. And then you're getting them in. Like, I know that, you know, one of our other buddies is Pabone.
Oh, yeah.
He's been doing our Nogi classes on Mondays. And again, he couldn't make some of the Nogi classes. So, you know, I understand that because of the days that they fell. But he, you know, I remember like if we were getting together and like, hey guys, I'm changing the class to Nogi, and you're like, what the hell, you know? But recently he's been doing the Nogi classes, and I've been kind of like getting him tangled up with the legs and playing leg locks just to kind of help him out with kind of bring him up to speed on him a bit, you know, because obviously you're going to run into that a lot more in the Nogi.
Yeah, there's, I mean, the openings for the leg locks, I mean, there's so much more there. So that's a whole, like, I think that I don't get to train Nogi as much, so it's like, man, it's just so much to delve into, and I just want to have the time to do it, because I feel like my leg lock game's okay, but, you know, if I'm getting into some inverted, you know, heel hooks and stuff, you got to really be mindful.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the thing is if you have good training partners, because, you know, this morning, Patrick Bliss, like one of our guys, he's pretty good at legs, and I love training. He comes in on Friday mornings usually, and we train, and I love training with him because he's one of those dudes where you can play and you can attack, but there's no worry that anybody's going to get, like, cranked. You know, because, you know, we're both fighting hard for the control and fighting hard to get that nice catch. There's no, like, mad dash and get the manic sort of, like, where I'm just going to grab something and rip it.
Yeah, once he gets it, he kind of just stops.
Yeah, and me and him both. Like, I mean, like, you know, like we both exchange legs. You know, this morning I think I caught him in something and he caught me in something. So it goes back and forth.
It's crazy how good he's gotten in that, like, that little aspect of jiu-jitsu. And he's actually gotten better at a lot of other, you know, I remember at one time he was like, I'm not pulling guard, I'm just going to work takedowns, and his takedowns got a lot better. So Justin, what about you, man? Do you have a preference now? I mean, you just like both the same gi, Nogi, does it matter?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I didn't really make the decision to do the Nogi Worlds until I'm not going to say almost until it was too late, but definitely I didn't plan on doing it just because of some of the challenges I was facing with recovering from injury and physical therapy and all that. But you know, they both, I think anyone and everyone here and out there would agree that they both pose different challenges. You know, obviously we covered, you know, in the gi, you know, you kind of lean towards the older crowd. It's just slower pace. You know, you can grab more, you can grip more, you can kind of control the pace, slow it down. You can also speed it up as much as you want, but there's more to grab onto. With Nogi, I love the challenge. It was really a challenge for myself to be like, okay, you know, this is going to be a little outside of what I'm used to. And, you know, I like the comfortable, slow pace, kind of settling in a position and then exploding or just moving for whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Whether if you're, you know, speaking of ankle, foot, messing with the feet, if you're going to, you know, attack that spot, there's so many positions you can attack from there. And there's so many good ones versus bad ones in the gi and with the lapels and getting tangled up. I like the challenge of, you know, I think you would agree with me here, Eugene, is one of the things that we're good at our gym being under Chewy is breaking grips and respecting the grips and making sure that when someone does get a grip on you that, you know, you respect it and you break it and go through, especially in gi. Nogi, it proved to come in handy in my first match, the one guy, he pulled guard on me right away, which is pretty much expected, you know, in the little guy weight class for me. And he kept trying to get he was trying to get a grip, and I just 2-on-1 his grip, and I could tell he was getting frustrated. And so that come in handy, no-gi, just as it would in the gi. Obviously, you have more material. But, you know, to answer your question, I think they both pose different challenges. I really like the flexibility of just being able to scramble in and out of things in no-gi, but it also pushes the pace. And, you know, I'm an older guy, so I'm always feel like I have to work on my cardio. I mean, no matter what I'm doing, even training jiu-jitsu, because I'll be honest with you, I mean, it's easy to get kind of a little complacent, a little lazy in certain positions and not really push yourself and kind of find these rest periods. I mean, I'm going to speak for myself. But in no-gi, I feel like that is so limited. That window is so limited. And when I go with certain guys, like even you, Chewy, or even Patrick, man, it doesn't seem like there's a rest moment there. I feel like I get the most worn out in no-gi. So that's a whole nother challenge too. I mean, you want to get good at cardio, mix it up, you know, go no-gi a couple times a week, and then that will actually help your gi training, I think, you know, and vice versa.
So you decided you were going to compete later, closer to the tournament. What were some of the deciding factors for you, because you were dealing with some injuries? Where did you realize like that your body's okay or good enough to compete? Was there something that you felt like you were able to do that you weren't able to before, that you had your doubts about? Yeah,
you know, it was a couple things. I started coming in training just very lightly. You know, I wasn't going to say, hey, let's go light. I was just saying, hey, I'm going to certain positions I had to protect myself from. I broke my leg in July. And then, you know, 2 weeks later, I was in an accident. I'm sure we'll get to that. But, you know, having a torn ACL, having a recovery period from a broken fibula, I had it wrapped. And so I was really just trying my best to listen to my body and really not in my own head. You know, I want to just say, okay, don't be a pussy. Just go out there and train. You know, you'll get over it. You'll get through it. But at the same time, I didn't want to compromise the future for myself and be able to do other events or just be able to train. So really it was just kind of showing up, and for the longest time, for about a month and a half, it felt like longer, I would tell myself, okay, I'm just going to come in, I'm going to work on one specific thing. I can't really pass. I really can't sweep. I can't get underneath anybody. I can't use my leg and lift because it hurts too bad. I couldn't even sit back on my ankle without it just excruciating pain. But at the same time, you know, I wanted to be doing something active. I felt like if I'm not, I'm just sitting at home and not doing anything, and I hate that feeling. So I really just paid attention to my body and listened to, you know, there's been plenty of times I would talk with you, Chewy, and other guys, and, you know, even speaking to Nick Pavone, he'd ask me, how you doing? How does it feel? How do you, you know, what are you thinking? You know, and I think there was a little bit of a shock when I said, you know what, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm not, I mean, no one's ever really 100%. I mean, being an athlete, you're never 100%.
Especially not as you get a little bit older.
Oh, man, especially as you get older, and you just, you start finding things that are like, oh, this hurts more than it used to, you know, last year or 5 years ago. But, you know, I told, I didn't tell too many people, but I said, Pabona, I'm going to go do Nogi Worlds. He's like, really? He's like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Yeah, man, go do it. And, you know, but he was concerned about the injury factor and how far along I was, and, you know, and then, I mean, that's just one of the things that I felt like, all right, it's either going to hold me back to the point where I'm going to look and say, if I didn't go and do it, man, I wish I would have went, because I was healthy enough to at least try, and I didn't want to be that guy sitting on the couch thinking, you know, like, oh, I should have went. You know, I was good enough, but then at the same time, I didn't want to go out there and like, oh man, risk injury. So it's like, where do you draw that line? You know, right. It's a hard decision, but for me, I just felt like, okay, I know my body, I'm paying attention to it, I'm putting in good fuel, I'm training, I'm trying to get as much rest. I started doing the grappling program, the strength and conditioning, which I have to say that, you know, and this is, you know, it's just is what it is. I decided, it's like, you know what, at my age and what I'm doing and the injuries and everything, I have to get stronger. Not that I want to get bigger, not that I'm trying to put on weight, not that I'm trying to, you know, do curls for the girls or anything. I need to get my body, you know, trained in a sense where I'm strong for jiu-jitsu.
Sure.
Because in the past I would do that, but not as serious as I was. for this last the last 5 weeks is really, I started at 5 going on 6 weeks ago, and I felt a huge improvement. I could feel my body over like about midway, about 3 weeks in, starting to tighten up. Yeah. And didn't have any huge gains or progress, but I could just feel like overall, when my body was just, it's like if you ever watch a racehorse run, I mean, you can tell the ones that are fit versus the ones that are dragging around there. But and that makes a big difference in what we do, and especially when you're training hard on the days that you go hard, and then you just come in to train just to move, to get your body going, to keep the muscle memory if you're drilling or whatever. So for me, it was just really being honest with myself about how my body was feeling and how I'd recover too. So,
right. Well, you're not going against scrubs either. You're like, I mean, you better really feel confident in what you're doing.
Yeah, and something before you competed, something that's I thought was interesting looking back on it is, you were picky with who you'd roll with, right? Because obviously you've got to keep the body healthy, but also you wouldn't roll like 110% every day. There were some days you were coming in and you were purposely just doing stuff. You were working on, like, you'd be coming in and you'd say, okay, I'm going to roll with like all the small guys today. I'm going to go for guillotines and playing around. Then there'd be other days where you'd come pick me out, like, hey, I want to go with you today, and we're going to go. And I think that's important to understand. Like, a lot of times I see people all the time, like, going back to the grappling power program you're using, a lot of your work is done in that 65 to 85% range, right? 65, 80% range, that range. A lot of times when people watch, when they do jiu-jitsu, they mistakenly will watch like a highlight video, or they'll watch like a, this curated training session that's been shown to them on Flow Grappling or whatever, and then they take that as like that's every training session. So they'll see this like killer training session going on at Atos or something, and they'll say, well, that's what I got to train. And they'll go into the gym and they think that they've got to train like 110% every time. And in the reality, like, that's something I was thinking about, and it's something obviously you do this too, is you spend a lot of time rolling. It's submaximal. Like, you're kind of like playing around with stuff. You're focused on something. You were trying to work particular things that you're getting ready for the Worlds. And, some days were harder than others. Some days you'd push a little bit more. Some days you'd kind of back off a little bit because your body was telling you to. And I think that's a lesson, worth people, like, because again, you were listening to your body, and I think that's a lesson for people to learn. It's like, man, like, when you're getting ready, whether you're getting ready for something or not, like, you should have gears to get into. Some days you're going to train your butt off, and then some days, man, you're just going to like kind of get in there and move, and you're not going to necessarily push it 100%. You're going to work on a guillotine, work on whatever you're doing, that kind of thing.
Well, I think that that grappling power program for me, and I've been doing it. I'm getting ready to do my 1-rep maxes on it. And the hardest thing for me was being consistent. Like, I have so much shit going on. I didn't have like the time or the energy to be like, all right, what do I have to lift today? How much am I lifting? Like, Joe was like, look, here's your percentage. Do this. Boom, boom, boom. It's all laid out, and you just do it or you don't. And there's no excuses. There's no like, I didn't know what to lift or how to lift. I mean, sometimes you'll modify your whatever you need to do, but like being consistent. This is the first time I've been consistent in my lifting. And part of it's because I've been kind of dealing with a hand injury. Yeah. But like, so I've needed that extra physical exertion. But like, part of it has been, I've been able to be consistent with it because of the, just having everything laid out, and it's it's built around those 3 basic lifts. But like, I know I've gotten so much stronger. Like, I literally, like, I was deadlifting. I kind of unofficially was like feeling a little greedy. It's like, I'm going to try. And I lifted like, I think way more than I had. And I texted Joe, and I was actually pumped. I've never like been pumped about like lifting heavy.
Awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, I was like, oh shit, like I can actually move a little more weight. And it's just funny how you're getting your body starting. I'm curious to see how that translates when I start training again full speed, with using my, because I had my hand injury. So using it that way and training, actually see how much stronger I feel.
You know what I think is funny about that? Like, so like, there's different people that have sent me messages and stuff. The strangest message that I've gotten from people is like, people where, because we have social media, you can go look them up, and they'll say, man, like, I saw the program, I bought it or whatever, and it was too simple for me. I was like, too simple, huh?
That's a good thing.
It is. It's simplistic. So it's simple. Simplicity is a good thing, but it's like, it's not about, the thing is I think we've gotten to this weird stage where, like, because of the internet, like, everybody's got some secret about how to do something. Like, I got the secret to jiu-jitsu. I got the secret to your business. I got the secret to gaining weight. It's like, dude, it's all the simple stuff that you could do right now that you could be doing, but you're not. That's the stuff that makes it happen. Like talking about following a program, like a program for multiple weeks of consistent training. That's the secret. I don't care what program you're on. If you do consistently, you'll get something. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated with weird exercises. And I think also, you know, one of the things about that program is it's about general prepared fitness, not so much like, you're not getting super sport specific, because most people don't need to do that anyway. I mean, like some people do. Like if you're at that high level end, yeah, it's fine. Go ahead and do that. But most people would benefit from, listen, you're doing jiu-jitsu mostly as a hobby, or you're doing jiu-jitsu a few days a week, whatever. We're just trying to like get your body strong so they can help fight off some of the imbalances. So this way, like, again, as you're doing jiu-jitsu, you're creating muscular imbalances. So we're just helping you strengthen the body on the other end, doing some of the opposite stuff that you don't normally do. This way we can sort of strengthen the whole damn thing. So you are getting stronger, yes, but really what you're doing is you're just strengthening up that vehicle. So this way when you go back to training, it doesn't get all broken down. Because again, if you just do jiu-jitsu period and that's it, and you don't do anything to sort of offset it, your body starts to curl over, your posture gets terrible, you start getting all these weird aches in weird places because your body's like getting all jacked up. Shoulders are all messed up, hips get tight and all out of whack, so which leads to the knee problems and everything else, man.
Well, you were one that said that you didn't really feel comfortable squatting because it hurt your knees.
Yeah, I thought my days of squatting were gone.
There's a point of like where you have to acclimate your body, number one, and like if you never get past that point, or if your mechanics are off, or if you're starting out with too much weight, then you're gonna screw yourself. And
but like now, dude, I'll just drop in squats constantly. Like during the day, like when I take the dog out or something, I'll just drop into a nice low squat and hang out there for a couple minutes while he's out running around pooping and stuff. And when he gets done, I'll go get out of my squat and come back in. But it's just it's something I haven't been able to do that in years, and it was just simply just really bad muscular imbalances. Those damn hips had gotten so tight and out of whack, and my ankles had gotten tight, and so it was just getting that stuff to where. And it's not just flexibility, so it's not just the stretching element. It's also having strength in the motion, because those muscles aren't like the muscles were so weak and off balance. So I had muscles that were strong in certain places, but then like when I would get down to that low squat, I didn't have the muscles to stabilize me there, and I would just fall over.
Yeah. Well, the other component is like you're working some of these. You're getting that end range strength too. Like if you're getting your squat lower, you got to press back up, you know? So you're getting that increased depth. And think about jiu-jitsu, when you look at length and tension on the muscle, you know, you're doing a lot of your movements from non-advantageous positions. Like meaning like if you're all the way compressed and you're trying to make space, you're not going to be very strong there. So it's good to get in a low squat or get in a deeper squat and work that, you know. I think there's definitely something to be said about like doing partial range of motion for strengthening. If you have pain, you know, instability, things like that, or injury, you're supposed to avoid certain ranges, but like get as full and as deep range of motion as you can.
Sure.
So, and Justin, do you feel like were you doing the program like going into the Worlds? Did you start it before, or was it after?
Yeah, about 5 weeks out. I had actually, it's funny, I just asked Joe one day. I came in, it was one of those days where I was operating at about 50 to 60%. No passing, no sweeping, nothing really with any kind of leg entanglement. You know, I mean, I was working on some head hunting and did variations of the guillotine choke. And so I pulled Joe to the side. I said, hey, man, let me put this choke on you with the arm in. And so I did it, and he was standing up. It was kind of funny because I said, how do I get stronger at this? I'm like, how can I just, take a neck home from here? And
he didn't tell you to like squeeze watermelons until they break.
No, man. I mean, he was just like, okay. So he showed me a couple things. I said, how about I just start the program? I need to start the program. And he's like, that's a better idea. I said, I'll get stronger with this. I know, but and I was teetering on then I was kind of back and forth with making a decision. You know, it's a funny thing when you sign up for any competition, no matter what, but if you're on IBJJF and you do your whole registration and you go through the whole process and you click and you're like, now I'm committed.
Now it's real.
You know, it's the real deal. And that can be, a month out, it can be 3 months out. I mean, right now I have my eye on, Pan Am's, and that's in March. So, I was on the site the other day, and I'm kind of back on that same decision process. I know I'm going to do it, but it's just like, okay, once you hit
gi,
it's gi Pan Am, it's the gi Pan Am's, and it's always in March out in Irvine. But same deal. I mean, I have that same feeling like now it's serious. And from there, it's just a whirlwind of emotion. It's like, the days that you don't feel like training, it's like you go.
Yeah.
And because you can't just say, oh, well, it feels good because, I want to do the Pan Ams. No, like the days that there's plenty of days, and I'm sure you guys know, I don't feel like training. I don't feel like lifting, doing the power program.
Yep.
You have to be disciplined. And if you can't do it on like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, which is the 3 days that I do the lifting, if I miss Monday, then I'll make it up and I'll do it Tuesday.
Right.
Or if I'm going to train hard on a day that just didn't really coincide with my lifting schedule, then I'll put it off, but I'm going to get it done during that week. Even if I have to do a makeup day Saturday, Sunday, where I even talked to Joe about it, and he's like, oh no, dude, just don't worry about it. You don't have to do it on those days.
Right.
And he said, just come in and do it Sunday. I'm like, okay, well that's perfect.
I would make a guarantee, not that you guys would probably do it, but I would make a guarantee that if you go through the grappling power program all the way through, you will be stronger.
Well, yeah, if
you will get stronger. Like that's a guarantee if you do it.
But see, here lies the thing though. So like the problem is, and this is where like doing a competition is so powerful. The minute you click, I'm going, right? Yeah. You're instantly, you have this purpose, you have this thing that's coming up, and man, like, it's so weird how that works because it, like, even for me, like, I'll go and as soon as I sign up for a tournament, instantly, or even once I know I've committed, if I've mentally committed and said I'm doing this tournament, then as soon as I do that, it's like I'm going out and like, hey, you want a drink? No, I'm good. I don't want any drinks. Do you want do you want something? I don't want that. Like I'm instantly turning stuff down. Or when it comes to like I need to get a little more cardio today. I'll jump on the bike for a little bit because instantly you're like I got this thing I'm getting ready for. And I think that that's one thing is like you have to have it's nice to have something to shoot for. At the like some thing at the end of the rainbow. Because again, when you're training hard, like even just doing the program for 12 weeks, it's just 12 weeks. So literally it's like 36 training sessions, right? 3 days a week for 12 weeks. That's it. 36 training sessions. Can you do that? Guarantee you're going to get stronger if you do it, but 90% of people can't do that. They just can't. It's because they don't have a reason why they're doing it. They're like, well, I want to be kind of stronger. It's like, well, you gotta get something more than that. Right. And like a tournament can be great for that because you're okay. I got a tournament. I got to get stronger, whatever, and you can commit to it. Or, maybe you've got something else. But tournaments tournaments, all that stuff has always been something where as soon as I know I'm doing it, I remember it was like fights were like that. Like I'm a naturally, man, I'm just kind of a big guy. I'm not very. I don't get thin easily, right? I don't get like all leaned out very easily. But I remember even in my last fight, I remember it was like I knew I had to get down to 185. So I was like, so I was like, all right. So I was about 210 at the time. So I was like, I'm gonna have to get to right at 200 so I can cut the water weight. Yeah. So I was like, as soon as it was, man, it was like. Boom, instantly my diet was in check. I remember like I was weighing in like 196 to 199 consistently, cut the water out to 185, like and again, you do it because you have that thing coming up.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the advantage, do you think, of like possibly waiting? Like waiting to, I guess like anxiety wise or stress wise, like waiting till like the last minute to register. There's got to be some advantages and disadvantages of that. I think a big disadvantage is that if you hem and haw about doing it, then you don't know you're competing. And it's fine for some people. Like Justin, for instance, is good enough. He's been competing long enough. Me the same way. I've been competing enough where like I can just pick up and do a tournament. And like I did the ADCC trials like that last year. Took third and literally it was like about 2 weeks in. I was like, I'll go do it. Nick Pabone, one of the others. We keep talking about Pabone. Even Nick, if he's listening. Even Nick. Inside joke. But when Nick was talking to me, he comes up, he's like, dude, you doing the ADCC trials? I'm like, I'm him and on. He goes, go sign up. I'm like, okay. So I went and I literally was like, had someone else warm up the class, went and signed up. But when especially you're getting ready for something, if you sign up for it, it's a nice thing because then you need to work on your game plan. You need to push it. You need to do those things, and so you don't go into the competition with like, I hope I prepared enough. Maybe God, it would have been so much better if I was in better shape. You do all that kind of stuff. Where as if you've actually been putting in some work, you go into that competition, you're like, I've done everything I can do. I'm good. Let's just do this.
Yeah, you have that confidence going in, knowing that you have prepared. And even if like if you're consistently training, if you're in shape and you feel like you're in a good enough spot. Like I'll give an example, like Matt Harrison. If I called him, hey man, there's a competition tomorrow. Would you be down? Yeah, because he's training, he's consistent. Yep. He's always showing up. He's always going, with the toughest guys. And he has that mindset. Plus he competes a lot. I think that has a big factor. To be honest with you, for this year, doing this competition was the second one. You know, my goal was to do what I call the superfecta or the Grand Slam, is to do Pans, Master Worlds, Nogi, Pan Am, and that would have been my, you know, that was kind of like to see how I would do or feel where I'm at with competing Nogi. But since I missed the two in the summertime, August and September, the Master Worlds, and then obviously Nogi Pan Ams, you know, I thought, man, this is a rough year, 2019, you know, for a lot of people. I think I hear a lot of people complaining and bitching and moaning about it. But, you know, it really was for me when I look at it from competition level. I'm like, man, the last time I competed was Pan Ams, and, you know, I did okay there. I didn't win, but, you know, I just feel like, man, I need to get a little bit more out of this year. And, you know, going back to what your question was earlier, is like, you know, how do I know? Is just listening to my body and making sure that I'm on board. And, you know, when you decide, like, for instance, if you know you're going to do Atlanta, which I believe is in February. Or anything. I know there's, you know, Fuji's coming up. I know, you know, there's a couple local things. A couple of our guys and girls are getting ready for the competition, the Backwoods Brawl. I believe that's January 11th. You know, just knowing that, you know, that's 2-3 weeks away. If you committed to doing something that, you know, even that soon within a month, you know, okay, now I've got work to do. And where you're at and what you got to improve on, you know, you can make a lot of changes in 3 weeks. I don't think like a week out you're going to see much improvement. Maybe you might get a little edge on your cardio if you're like, you know, doing whatever it is you do for cardio. But yeah, I mean, you know, something that far out, you just know you're going to be committed to. And then holding yourself accountable, that's one of the toughest things, is just like, okay, I know I'm going to do this. I know I suck at this position, so I need to get that to the level I'm at, or I'm just going to keep hammering down on the stuff I'm good at. And like back to your point, you know, keeping it simple. The simplest thing about that program with the grappling program is that it's a bunch of movements designed and geared for grapplers, for jiu-jitsu guys and girls. And so that, to me, you know, I don't know who it was that said that it's just too simple, man. If you reverse engineer that, I mean, that's actually, and look at it that way and say, hey, you know, if you keep it simple, then you're going to probably see the most effectiveness out of your training, and that goes with everything. You know, I'll end with this. One of the three things that I noticed out at Nogi Worlds, and we're talking everything from the adult black belts to masters divisions to blue belt women, is that all the submissions were just simple submissions. They weren't anything crazy. Wasn't no, you know, Imanari rolls to back takes. It wasn't anything berimbolo crazy stuff you see. It wasn't Instagram cool. It was, you know, either a guard pull or a simple takedown. You know, I saw a lot of triangles. I saw a lot of guillotine chokes, and mostly rear naked chokes. And talking with Matt Harrison and even Frank, the Reaper, we all come to the same conclusion, and it was funny because, you know, you think that you're at the, you know, highest level of jiu-jitsu, and you think you're going to see a lot of variety. No, it's just simple. The
same old stuff you've been doing. Stuff that, you just do it so well.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the things too is just like, if you watch the women go, you know, they have something else in them. I think that just they're out there for a little bit more than just, you know, the prestige of winning and the gold medal. It's like they really want to, like, not hurt each other, but they're out there. They're scrappy, and they're impressive to watch because you know, it's a lot of technique. It's not like, you know, watching like the heavyweight class, and not taking anything away from the heavyweight class, but you know, watching Cyborg, man, watching him go out there, and he was just, you know, he's just a bulldog out there, and then he wins with a simple submission too. But you know, watching the women, and there's a lot of guillotine chokes from the women, which I thought was really interesting. You know, they don't respect the choke on the neck. You know, they're tapping. So,
yeah.
Simplicity, man.
You know, something I'm curious about is recovery. I talk about this a lot as far as recovery from training. And you're an older guy in the sake of being like an athlete.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you know, it's all right. I'm an older guy. I'm getting old. Like, when we're talking about being an athlete, you know, I'm old. Here's one thing. So I'll ask you about your recovery tips if you have any. But one of the things that I think, again, is just something worth thinking about. A lot of people get into jiu-jitsu, and they begin to adopt these like fairly like high training volumes, right? Like, so they get in there and they're not training like, you know, once, twice a week. They're training 3-4 days a week. You know, and then the problem with that is that they don't change anything else in their life. So it's like, okay, man, think about what you're doing. you're training hard. You are now treating yourself like an athlete, and you should consider yourself an athlete. You shouldn't consider yourself as like, it's not like doing jiu-jitsu is not like going to the gym and playing like patty cake with the dumbbells or something. You know, like, oh, I'm gonna lift some weights and do a circuit, whatever. You know, like, no, dude, like you're going in there doing some tough stuff. It's high performance stuff for your body, and you know, I see a lot of people will complain, especially as they get older. Even we're talking in their 30s and up, right? They're just like, oh man, my body, whatever. I'm like, what else you doing? Well, I'll go home and I'll have a few drinks, and then whatever. I'm like, hold on a second. Like, what? Like, bro, like you're training like an athlete now. Like, you shouldn't be going home and every night you're getting a couple drinks. You're going to sleep, getting 5 hours of sleep. You eat like crap. You eat fast food. Like, to me, again, people can do what they want to do, but if you actually want to get the most from this thing, and you want to actually be able to recover and feel great and all that stuff, then you got to watch that stuff so much. Like I know that for me, like my diet, my sleep habits, all that stuff, I keep it like guarded and I keep it in check because of the fact that when I don't do that, I don't feel good. And so my bodies begin to associate with, if I eat this, like for instance, like I'm very particular about what I eat before training. After training, we'll go out sometimes and eat whatever. But before, it's like, I don't eat these foods. I don't eat these foods because they make my belly upset. I make sure that I don't, like, I drink max, maybe one drink a week, max. Because again, if I drink, I don't feel good training. And it's like, unless there's a reason for me to drink with some friends or something, like I don't need to drink at nighttime to just relax or whatever. If I want to, whatever. But anyway, get off my soapbox. With you, with recovery, what are some things that you do for recovery that seem to help you out as a, again, you're like, what are you, 39?
I'm 42.
42.
Yeah,
42 years old.
Yeah.
I knew he's 42.
You can edit that out later.
I knew
we can't because we're live.
I knew he was in his 40s. I wanted to make him feel good about himself. He looks so youthful. But no, but like so tell us about some of the things, because as a 42-year-old guy, your body obviously feels different, especially you started training in your late 30s and so mid 30s, late 30s. And late 30s, so what do you do now, if anything special, to sort of cope with some of the wear and tear of training? Maybe if like 3 things or something.
Well, I would say number one, definitely diet. I'm real particular, same as you, before training, what kind of fuel I'm putting in. And I can make the reference, if you want to perform well, then you've got to put in the right fuel, and I'm going to make a correlation, because my background, obviously, some of those who know me, in the horse racing industry, in the world of horse racing, I mean, those animals, they're athletes, right? And they're running for, big money, a lot of prestigious races, and their diet is so simple. It's the same thing every day. Not everybody wants to just eat the same thing every day, but back to the whole simplicity. I mean, I could eat the same thing every day for 3 months, and knowing that I'm gonna, if someone said, hey, this is the ticket to seeing progress, it's not going to guarantee you win, but you'll be more likely to perform at the best and at the top if you just stick to this diet. You can sway a little bit. What I mean by that is, like horses, they get oats and grain, and they get hay, and that's it, and water, and plenty of it. And the hay is just really a filler. So it's like eating iceberg lettuce salad, nothing that's really has a lot of nutritional content, other than when they're out eating grass in the field. So, and then they're getting their carbs, and for the most part, they're and they love it there. I mean, every horse that is, when it's feed time, man, it's like any one of us, like, oh man, we get to eat, it's time to eat. But so I feel like that going in, when I do make that strict, I follow a strict regimen with my diet, that the recovery process is easier. I eliminate a lot of starches, and I will have some, like I'll have some carbs and stuff, but very lean meat, if any, prior to training, but or before I train. And then beets are, if you can do a whole segment on the health benefits of beet and beetroot juice and all that. Oh, yeah, it's awesome. So, I'm a little older, so I have to find not the hack, but the shit that works, that I know I'm going to get results from. Well,
and then also to kind of go with your point, like something like I eat, usually 2 out of my 3 to 4 meals a day are the same thing, kind of without fail. Yeah. Right? And the reason for that is because, if it works, if I feel good on it, why change it?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So in the morning, like I eat the same foods, and it's like literally on autopilot in the morning, just cooking the same stuff I cook every day. And it's like, and I eat that because, well, it's like I eat this, I feel good. Why would I eat something else? Like I don't need variety. I want to go feel good. Yeah. Like I don't care about like it tastes good. I want it doesn't taste bad, but I want to feel good. And that's why I'll eat the same stuff over and over again because of that, because I equate that with that. In my head, it's like when I eat this food, I feel good. If I eat that food, I feel sleepy.
Yeah.
When I eat this, I have energy to train and I feel great and I feel like energetic. When I eat that food, I just feel like weak. I feel lethargic. So
yeah, and for me, it's on that note. It's like every day if I do eat, I do practice a lot of getting ready for a competition. I know that I've got to drop a few pounds. I don't have a hard weight cut, but the older you get, the harder it is. And when you don't have a lot of weight to lose, like back when you were fighting, Chewy, and trying to lose that weight, it's just like, oh man, you're going to do it, but it's just a pain in the ass to do. So I know for me, I can just have a half a banana, go in and train, and I can operate off of that. And I go off kind of like not an empty stomach, but where I'm not, it's not a full meal. Sure. I don't even have a smoothie. So I have to operate and train at the level that I've been preparing myself. And it comes in handy if I do struggle with the weight, a little bit of a weight cut. And it's not a large weight cut for me personally, but it's enough to just where it can take it out of me. But after, post-training, there's a lot of things I'll do throughout the week, and I have to really back to just, I think the injuries this year was a real blessing in disguise, because it made me realize that I have to take it serious. If I want to operate at the optimal level and be at the, a high level of competition, or even just training with all of, the guys at our gym, and even when we cross-train, that I have to pay attention to that. Just simple things like doing my measuring my heart rate, the HRV, and kind of knowing if I'm where I'm at in that with the sympathetic nervous system versus the parasympathetic, and so just kind of just using that and looking at those metrics. But then aside from all that, I've done this in the past throughout the week. And this may be hard for, the hobbyist or someone that wants to get into a point where I want to go out and do this competition. What do I need to do? Well, you have to allocate certain time to just say, okay, this is what I'm going to do at this time. So I was hitting the sauna, and, I've used the sauna here, the infrared one here where we're at. And I had huge benefits from that, actually in the spring. So the dry sauna or the infrared, if you have access to one, I feel like there's huge benefits from that, and a lot of stretching and just even breathing exercise. I know, Chewy, you meditate a little bit. That helps my mind and my body just kind of okay, I can relax. Because we do hold a lot of tension. We hold a lot of stress, not just from being on and off the mat. There's a lot of factors there, but
well, even to go with your sort of statement about being more into parasympathetic, right? So your breathing is one of the things that you can use directly that will affect that. So if you're breathing, first off, I find a lot of people cannot breathe very well into their diaphragm.
Right.
When you watch them breathe, it's like you'll see their chest raise, but but you never see their stomach. And part of this is just part of this is just narcissism from our society, right? Because we say that you need to be suck your gut in kind of thing. Whereas if you look at some of those, if you watch a National Geographic or something, and you watch those people, watch their lower stomachs, their lower belly. It's given room for these damn organs to open up. The lower belly extends out. It's not like a. Even look at a baby. Look at their little bellies. They're not. Let me suck it. We gotta have abs, right? Yeah, they're breathing, and you watch their little bellies open up and breathe, and they can breathe correctly. But one of the things, getting into that slow inhale and then exhaling through your nose, right? The nose is important. If you breathe primarily through your nose, you're putting yourself again into that parasympathetic more often, and especially when you do the long, deeper breathing, slow exhales, and things like that. But a lot of people mouth breathe constantly. And again, we mouth breathe typically when we're in stressful situations. When you're rolling and you're training, your mouth opens up because you got to get more oxygen in. And again, you're sending a signal to your body hey,
get a move on.
Get a move on. Something's happening, right? So your body tenses up, everything else. Whereas when you're just able to sit there and just big inhales and exhales and slow down, your body, you literally slow yourself down, and you'll just feel a little bit more at ease.
A lot of it's posture too. A lot of what we do every day. If we sit a lot every day, it's really hard to expand your diaphragm or your belly if you're rounded really bad. So a lot of people, and you brought up a great point about kids and babies and stuff. And I watch people move all the time. It's weird. It's innate in what I do now because I've done it so much. I watch like my son or daughter run and squat and breathe, like how they breathe and stuff. Like you just notice it, and like nobody taught them how to squat, nobody taught them how to breathe, and they don't use those accessory muscles. So the accessory breathing is like, you know, upper trap. Like if people get really, you know, overdeveloped upper traps,
they haven't been broken
they're
yet.
gonna want to do that. Yeah, kids are like, you know, we say that kids are perfect when they're born. They're like no bad habits. Like no kid is bad when they're born.
So
they really aren't.
So you think about it, like a kid is like they're coming out with just these it's almost like, you know, when you watch a horse.
It's basic.
Nobody tells, like the little baby horse immediately starts standing, right? And nobody tells it. The mother doesn't teach it. It just starts getting up and doing stuff, right? So babies start learning how to do these things, and they just, you know, obviously they mimic, right? But like, you know, they learn how, like nobody told them how to breathe. Like it wasn't like, okay, now open your mouth. Like they just like, you know, they start breathing. Their body's doing it naturally. You know, they start walking around. They can babies drop to a squat naturally, just hanging out in a squat. You know, but then we sort of like, again, different things happen, and then you see the rigidity build up into their body in different ways. You know, through different influences. So,
well, yeah, you get certain muscle groups that tighten up, and
but so going back to the breathing thing is important. I always jump on breathing when I get a tie into it, because I think most people, when you talk to them about breathing exercises, they I did this. They're like, breathing, I'm good. Like, I've been breathing 34 years. I'm doing just fine. But it's like, no, you ain't, man. You're like, your body's forgotten how to breathe correctly in like deep ways, and like your body's, it's like it's amazing what it does, man. Like you can literally do all kinds of cool stuff with your body, whether you want to be charged up and go for something, or if you just want to be chill and relaxed. Like being able to, because the breath is one of the only functions that we can go in and out of automaticity, where our body's just doing it in and out, and we forget about it. And you can literally use that to ramp your body up to get the sympathetic nervous system firing, or you can get it to chill you out and go more parasympathetic. But,
I mean, it's a huge thing, and I think a lot of people overlook it. I think that, especially in our society and culture, it's not really looked at hard enough. And, you know, I'm going to bring up, you know, the guy, of course, you guys know, who's pretty famous and notorious, the Wim Hof breathing method, and Wim Hof, and, you know, the ice baths that he does. And, you know, and I was really intrigued by that. And I was just like, how is this guy able to submerge his body into sub-freezing temperatures, hold his breath for over 8 minutes, and, you know, just do the things he does? I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to try this out. And I know, like, 2 summers ago, I brought this to you, and you're like, yeah, man, go ahead, try it after Sunday trainings. And people were coming to me, and even, you know, like Adam, he messaged me. He's like, man, this is, you know, he would try, and he's like holding his breath for 3 minutes. Like, I've never been able to hold my breath for more than a minute and a half, and here I am holding it for 3. I said, yeah, man. And it takes work, it takes practice, but it's just simple, and it's a time thing. You've got to allocate 10 minutes and just breathe, but you will feel a change. You'll feel, you know, not 100% different, but you'll feel like, okay, your body's, it's doing.
Well, that's a charged up breath.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, you're charging that body up. You know what I mean? Like you don't do a Wim Hof before like you go to sleep.
No.
Wim Hof is like a breath where you do that, and like that hypoxic breathing, you do that before you're like, all right, I'm getting ready to do something. I'm getting ready to jump into an ice bath and go swim. I'm getting ready to train or do something. It's great for that.
Back to the recovery, I think that was really helpful. Just doing that, and honestly, I don't do it every session. I don't do it all the time, but I do it when I feel like, okay, you know what, my body's needing something. And you know, the times that I've done it, and even just taking a cold shower if I don't have access to an ice bath.
How cold is your shower right now?
Right now?
Yeah, like when it's been cold recently. Does yours get real cold?
So yes, it gets. I mean, it's cold.
Because like mine,
ice cold.
Because this is my favorite time of year for cold showers, because the water's. Well, dude, I mean, the water's cold enough that when I breathe, I can see my breath.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, it feels amazing. Because I'll get in there, I'll shower first cold, and I'll clean up cold. I've been doing this now. Like I was doing it hot and then cold. I was like, now just go straight cold first, and then like afterwards, I'll get my head to toe, everything submerged, whatever, and then I'll turn hot on to kind of warm back up, and you feel that blood come back to the surface. And dude, it'll like, you know, even if it was a hard training session, I feel kind of sore. Like when I get out of that shower after that, the cold and the hot, man, it feels good.
You feel like rejuvenated, and it's funny, you know, because like, and I'm making references to horses, but that's what they do. Horses don't have any muscle from the carpal joint from their knee down to their foot. And so there's a reason why that area of the body is so stressed, and there's a lot of problems, a lot of different pathogens in from the knee down all the way to the hoof. And so you'll see horses, and I have grown up around it, they'll have the horses in an ice tub, in an ice bath, and they have Epsom salt in there to keep that ice from melting, so it's just frozen. I mean,
wow.
it's gnarly. So I haven't done the ice bath with Epsom salts to keep, but because most of the time you do an ice bath 3 to 5 minutes, probably not much more than that. But with a cold shower, if you don't have access to doing all the ice bath and all that, it's like I'll do it coming out of the sauna, and I'll give myself a little bit. I kind of let my temperature come down a little bit, and then I'll jump in lukewarm. And a lot of times, I'll do this at the YMCA, and I'll turn that sucker as cold as it gets, and it just feels like, okay, now I feel like my body's, I don't feel as sore and as beat up and tired. Because you know how it is. I mean, when you train hard, you're going through life and everything else is coming at you, and it's like, oh man, like my body just aches and pain and this and that. There's a lot of benefits to that. And I feel like for the original question here is, what do I do? Those things, it's diet, it's the sauna sessions. I mean, we could get into a whole nother podcast about chiropractic and massage. But I try to take care of my body because, I beat the hell out of this thing, and, we all do. Yeah. And so, some people may think, oh, well, breathing, I don't know. Well, like, hey, man, give it a try. Look up Wim Hof, try his breathing technique. The first thought of doing an ice bath, I could tell you, Eugene, you're like, I don't know, man. I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid, but I'm telling you.
No, I haven't done it, but there are benefits to it.
Yeah, you understand the difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you do it, if you did the breathing, you'll feel the cold, but, it's not as bad. I mean, like you said, you're charging up your body and getting ready for it.
Well, and the thing is a lot of times when you tell people some of this stuff, like, whatever it is, like, you hear people sometimes when you say something about the breathing exercises, like, it was so funny. I took some of the guys, it was because I do it every now and then where I'll do some stretching and then I'll do some deep breathing with the guys after training. And we had a really hard Monday session, and I was like, if you guys want to stick around, I'm going to do it. If you don't, I don't care. So we ended up I had a pretty big group that day. It was about like 15. And then I remember afterwards, we did about 20 minutes of stretching, and we did a 5-minute just breathing, just stillness, just lay back on your back, breathe and slow, whatever. One of the guys ended up sending me like a message or talk to me the next time he came in class. He's like, bro, I slept so good last night. Yeah. I was like, yeah, imagine that. Like you're telling your body you're done. But going back to it, it's the simple stuff. A lot of times there's so much of this biohacker stuff that it's out there now where it's like, I'm taking, 60 milligrams of this particular supplement and this, and then I get these goat testicles from the Andes Mountains, and we like whatever. It's like, look, man, stop eating stupid food. Yeah. Stop drinking so much alcohol. Get more sleep, like put your phone down before you go to bed, like go read a book or snuggle up with your boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and like just be like, stop doing stuff and just be for a little bit. Like, that's a big thing for me is like I even fight with this all the time because, there's so much going on. I want to do stuff. Society tells us we're doers. Yeah. Right. There was a woman, Melissa, she came in and did a private yoga session with me. She was showing me some stuff. She came in a couple weeks ago, and I remember like we were laying there getting into the breathing part, and she was like, and I'm sure this has been said plenty of times, but we're human. We're basically always being human doers. We're just gonna be a human being, like just be for a little. You're right, just be for a little bit. And I made a joke with her. I was like, for instance, meditation. Like meditation used to be woo woo. Right. Yeah. Then some guys with scientific data came out and like, well, actually, here's what it's doing, and it can be beneficial. So then we're like, oh, we'll trust it. But I'm like, if it wasn't for like it being around, we would not have figured out meditation now. Like with our society, where we're too like ADD about everything, like we wouldn't have. You're gonna sit down and do nothing and just breathe for 20 minutes. I can't do that. I got to be productive. Yeah. I got to be 4 a.m. this morning. I got to keep going. You wouldn't have figured it out. Anyway, I don't even know what the hell I'm talking about.
No, I fight that too. I fight that. I feel like.
But basically, you gotta know when to lay your sword down for a little bit, right? It's like, because again, the battle's going to be done at some point. You got to know when to lay your sword down, and then again, take that time to recover. And it's always the simple stuff that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. I'm not saying that there's no supplements and stuff like that you can't take, but it's amazing what you can do when you simply just. Going back to your idea about the horse, right? Treating yourself like an athlete instead of just a random person, right? Like, no. Like, you're an athlete now. You're training this thing. You're beating yourself up. You should think about, like, do you think that this high level athlete's going to be doing this stuff? No. You think they're going to be sitting there like just like whatever, like all night long, like on Facebook, like swiping? Like, no, they're going to be going to sleep because I got to get up in the morning to train again. Like, you got to do the same thing for yourself, because otherwise, man, stuff sneaks up on you. And again, a lot of that stress is it's cumulative. So it's not like maybe you don't get the sleep tonight. Maybe it's not a big deal tomorrow. Maybe you eat some bad food and it really doesn't affect your performance tomorrow. But like, a year from now, 6 months from now, 10 years from now, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, like, that stuff wears on. And if your body's never really getting back to level out. I mean, it's like if it's constantly in the hole, stress wise, I mean, it's gonna be bad.
Yeah, that's like the compound effect, man. It's real.
The one thing that is really, really good that you guys are talking about, you're getting your body, like after a vigorous or like really stressful exercise, you're getting it back to its normal state. So you're helping that transition. You're not going from like a really, really strenuous activity to doing nothing, because then your body doesn't, like, it kind of almost like freaks out. Like you're almost like giving it the okay, and you're guiding it to that like normal resting heart rate. You're getting your heart rate down by doing deep breathing. You're getting your respiratory rate down. You're also having all this blood in your muscles, and you're doing some movements, some yoga postures, and you're helping those muscles kind of stay. And I definitely think yoga, there's a lot of research about stretching and what it does and what it doesn't do. But I think that as a recovery tool and as a way to get your body down to its like resting state, it's very powerful.
Yeah.
And
there's so many people that like, I know that we live in a society today where where people will no longer trust their instincts, right? Because they'll say, well, what, this really feels good to me, but there's no study on it. Like there's no scientific study to tell me that I'm okay to be. It's like we've literally exchanged one religion for another, right? We've said we said like, well, the Bible doesn't say it, right? So, or the Quran doesn't say whatever, right? Whatever religious text you read, well, there's nothing about this, so I don't know what to do. Now it's like, it might be working for you, but you're like, no, I don't know, because I don't have a study to prove it. It's like, how's it working for you? Like,
how does it make you feel?
How does it make you feel? Like, I mean, think about all the weird sort of things that like athletes do. Like, you listen to like their, the way that they're superstitious about stuff. Like, obviously, like, that taking your lucky shirt with you. I used to have a lucky shirt I'd always wear to competitions. Yeah. I knew that shirt had nothing to do with anything, but for some reason, I was superstitious, brought it with me, right? Again, sometimes there's a placebo, but sometimes, I mean, it's just that like, the things haven't, like symptoms or signs, or it hasn't got around to get into it. But there's so many people that have like said, man, yoga changed my body completely. Made me feel, I mean, and I'm one of those guys. I literally in my early 30s, like 30, was like, I think my body's broken. Like everything was getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And I remember being able, I can do things now like movement wise, flexibility wise, that I've never been able to do. And I can tell you that my body's like, I consistently feel better than I did when I was in my like late 20s, early 30s. Like between that 28 to about 31 range. I feel better now, and I have the last couple of years because of incorporating things like hard training, but also doing some yoga and doing it consistently, and just doing some deep breathing exercises, and just sort of honoring that other side to training, not just the hard go, but the softer side, giving myself time to recover. And again, whether there's a scientific study to tell me that stretching or doing yoga afterwards is helpful, I don't care. Like I know what has come from me doing it, and I'll stick with that more than all that other stuff,
Placebo effect is real. It really is. If you think something's helping you, it usually is. If you have your lucky blanket or your shirt, what does it do? Well, it makes you more comfortable. You're more comfortable. You're not as, maybe your anxiety lowers down. You're not spending more energy on being stressed. Yeah. So I think it does maybe.
But think about that, like you think about back in like the 80s, 90s and stuff, before there was much research on things like meditation, and people would go and talk about meditation, like, oh, friggin' weirdos, Now, if those people had trusted the negative opinions of those other people, then they would have missed out on something they could have been doing, right? And then comes around the research. Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, these people have been saying it for thousands of years. But now we have the studies. Yoga's been around for thousands of years, but now we can trust it because there's some guy that says it's okay. Like, I mean, try it yourself. Like, have your own opinion for stuff. Because again, every study's freaking biased. Every study's coming in with like, I want to prove this. Go experience yourself a little bit and try it out and see. I don't know why I got I'm angry today.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, a lot of what you're talking about, it kind of goes back to what we discussed earlier, and it's just keeping it simple, man. What's simple for you may not be simple for the next guy, but if it works, if you find that yoga and deep breathing and a proper diet works, obviously you're not going to have a lot of success if you go out there and on a binging and drinking and eating fast food. But, you know, if you're out there and you say you can't fit yoga into your life, well, you know, look it up on YouTube and stretch some.
If you can't fit yoga in your life, you're
I'm just using that example.
I'm just saying, people do say that. People are like, well, I don't have time to go to the gym. Well, I mean, you could probably do some body weight squats, you know, do some push-ups.
I'll give you an example. Like, I don't go to a place to do yoga, but just from
do yoga
do it at home. You can look up 5 to 10 moves in yoga that you're going to find that's beneficial to you if you have lower back pain, sciatic nerve, whatever it is.
The YouTube now, like the YouTube videos that you see, these friggin' like these yoga chicks, they'll go down there and dude, like, I mean, they're amazing. Like I've had some of like my best yoga sessions not in a yoga studio, but like in my living room on a yoga mat, where I can sit there and find a spot or a stretch or a posture that feels really good, and I can sit there for like 2-4 minutes, and I can do it. Like, again, you don't need to have that. Just again, it's like just do it right there. Like, you don't have to be in a studio to do it.
You're listening to your body, kind of what it needs as well. You know, you're figuring out like, oh, this is restrictor, this is tight, this feels kind of good. I'm going to stay with this. You know, and that's kind of, you know, postures with yoga and stuff. They tell you like if it feels good, kind of stay there, or if you feel uncomfortable with the position, modify it. You know, so I mean, I don't know. I think the thing about jiu-jitsu guys is we're really in tune with our body, but we also are good at like talking ourselves out of stuff. Like, maybe I shouldn't be training as hard or whatever. It's hard to kind of, sometimes you like when you had an injury to your foot, like you like could convince yourself like, I'm okay, it's not that bad. Sure. When you look at like some of the warning signs.
Well, you broke the damn foot.
He did.
And then it's like, you know, it's like when someone breaks their foot, usually there's like a I mean,
it's the non-weight bearing. Well, it does do a little bit of weight bearing, but it's a non-weight bearing bone. So your tibia is the one that does the weight bearing. It's like, but then your fibula is like on the side. It does a little bit, but dude, that shit, if that's broken every time you step, like everything moves.
Maybe 17% weight bearing. I looked that up.
It's
the tibia is the 83%.
But Justin's rolling. This was around 4th of July this past year when we had Brandon McGaffron out there, and he's just rolling, and some freak accident, all of a sudden you hear a pow, big old snap, and you know, his damn leg was broken. But you know, he got up, he's like, it kind of feels a little funny, you know, and he's kind of like playing around with it a little bit, and you know, sure enough, he went to the doctor and it was broken. How long were you out for that?
Oh God, I never even thought about it.
Not long enough.
You know, it's funny because the day it happened, I thought I sprained it, and then I don't know if you had heard or if I texted you or what.
I think I heard.
You heard, and then we started having a conversation via text, and then
I took you through these like called Ottawa ankle rules. So OTTAWA ankle and foot rules. Basically, it's like pain with 4 steps, tenderness on certain parts, and you can actually do this yourself. I did a video on it on YouTube, and basically I was like, Justin, do these things, and if it hurts, like or any of those are positive, then you need to go get an X-ray.
Yeah, and you're like, does it hurt here, here, and here? And I'm like, yes, here, yes, yeah.
Well,
and no, not here.
No, it was like this. I was like, I don't know, maybe, kind of. I was like, dude, does it hurt or not? Like, what do you like? You're like jiu-jitsu guys. Most jiu-jitsu guys are like want to train so bad that like we will talk ourselves out of like, you know, if you have an injury, like you'll talk yourself out of certain things. Like you'll convince yourself it's okay when it's not. But like, I don't know. I mean, you kind of worked around it. I mean, you did, you know, you changed your training regimen. I mean, how did you kind of work around some of those things?
Well, once kind of backing up, once I knew because you were on my ass about like, dude, go get it X-rayed, because I had some work I needed to go do afterwards after that training. Yeah. And so I did, and sure enough, had I believe it's called a oblique fracture, and in the fibula, which is the small bone outside the ankle area, and it was just really weird how I broke it. But anyway. So I knew that I was going to be out. My biggest concern was, would I need surgery? Am I going to have to take more time off? Like all these thoughts going through my head. And come to find out, you know, no, you just need to wear an air cast, you know, a boot, keep it, you know, like confined and stable, so where it's not all over the place. Because if it displaced, then I could be a candidate for surgery. So anyway, that was July 13th. I didn't get back on the mat really till... I mean, I didn't come back in at all in August. I think I showed up a few times to just say hello and watch because I was just, you know, hating life, but not being able to be on the mat. But I think late September is when I just kind of started easing back in, and I knew that it was just still too soon, so I didn't really do anything. In fact, I didn't even roll. I just got out there and would drill or do whatever Chewy was teaching, be a part of the class, and just happy to be on the mat.
Right.
With no engagement as far as, active rolling. So when it was time to roll, I just was like, okay, I got to be the guy that sits on the side now, which I'd never been. I've been very fortunate, very blessed, very always in a good spot. I never had any major injuries from jiu-jitsu. Now I've had, like we all had, like just bumps and scrapes and bruises, soreness, things that just pop. Which is the norm. But so, to answer your question, it was probably, I think I gave myself, from mid-July to September, so roughly within like just under 8 weeks, but I wasn't 100%.
Sure.
Like, okay, I'm good. Like now I feel like, which I'm still not 100%, but I feel like, okay, obviously I'm training hard enough to, compete. But, and it took me a while. It was hard for me to just mentally to come to class knowing that I had to hold myself back.
Sure.
It's just like I could see, the prize there, but I'm just like, no, you got to do it, man. It's the hardest thing to do.
That's interesting because that's like that's a weird thing when you think about it, like the self and the ego, and I don't want to get too esoteric, but you having control of that, right? Because the ego is like, I'm one of the best dudes in this room right now. Like I can submit these dudes, but because I'm going easy, maybe I can't. It's kind of hard sometimes. I know when I went through the same thing with injuries. But it's weird how in your head, like the ego will get you to try to do stuff that's not necessarily beneficial for the body.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You think about that, like go push yourself. Like you have to fight back the urge. Like I imagine going back to the horse analogy, some horse that's like ready to go, and you're like, no, you don't get to run today. You got to like walk.
Yeah, I was thinking about that exactly, and I didn't want to go there, but I'm glad you brought it up. So it's the same thing like when you're training a racehorse, and I'm no trainer by any means, but I've been around them enough to know, and I've had my own horses that. Yeah. And I used to ride, not as a jockey, guys and girls, but
his dad's a badass jockey, and his brother, he's kind of in training too, yeah.
My brother, they're both jockeys. They both are in the horse racing industry, and they're both little guys, little athletes. They're I look up to them both because they're professional athletes and they get paid to do what they do, and for the most part they love it.
That's cool.
But with a horse, you have to. In their training, they're trained to run, right? And we train for a number of different reasons, but like, let's just say for competition, we're trained to go out there and to submit the person, right? As the fight, as you progress in the fight, you're awarded points, but at the end of the day, the goal is to submit them, get it done and over with. With the horse, it's kind of the same thing. They're trained to run and to run as fast as they can, but you also got to pace yourself, and they can't just be like out the gate going 90 miles an hour, 100% effort. They've got to relax and then know when to turn it on. And so, that's tough. Some horses get it. Some horses takes a little bit longer. And, for us, I would say it's the correlation there is definitely, very similar in the sense that coming back to training and knowing that, okay, this could be a long road or it could be kind of the result where I'm at now. And we'll just see. And that was what I hoped for, and that's what I really tried to work hard at. And, for myself, just going in on even days when I was feeling better, like 2 weeks later, I started feeling better. And I'm like, okay, I still got to just be disciplined enough to know that I'm going to basically, and I'm not saying anybody did or they would. Actually, they probably would take advantage of that. Oh, Justin's hurt. Like I'm gonna.
You guys do that to me.
I got
sometimes.
this guy. So and that's fine. Yeah, like even rolling with you, Eugene. You're the one arm bandit there for a little while, and it was still it was still tough, but at the same time, it's gonna help you
hopefully
improve. It will. It totally will, because when you put yourself at a disadvantage. To a certain point, I feel like if you're focused and you're paying attention to that and you're like, okay, well, I'm just going to work on this one thing.
Yeah.
That's huge. Because for me, this whole situation in the last couple of months of my life have been so advantageous. It's just opened up. I probably would have done the Nogi Worlds, but I wouldn't have gone at it with this attitude like I did this round. And I think that the days I came in to train, and I would tell people, say, okay, I'm feeling better. I'm not really 100% passing sweeping, but if I lock onto your head, I'm going 100% for the submission. And they're like, okay. You know, that's fine. And I don't feel like that's kind of a douche thing to do because I don't want to be the guy like, hey, I'm going light because I'm injured. Then, but if I get you in a submission, haha, you know, it's like, no, this isn't the only thing I'm going for. Yeah. Slap hands, fist bump, like I'm coming for your neck.
Yeah, you're calling it out. You're giving them a heads up.
And I want them, some, you know, training partners, I want you to know because I want you to defend like hell, so it's going to make me better. Sure. Now, you may sweep me or submit me 5 times, but I don't care. I'm just, you know, that's a tough thing to kind of let go of.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. You know, you said about that because I've talked to several people about that, and I've actually realized it my own self. In that book, so I bought a bunch of copies of it and gave it out to a bunch of you guys called Iron John. In that book, there's a quote or a line that he wrote, and he was talking about wounds to us, right? Physical, mental, all that stuff. But he said every wound becomes a womb. Right, so that every injury, whether it be physical or mental, is a chance for growth to happen. Yeah, right, it's a chance for something to grow. And you know, you look at like Gordo, like you know, he's a guy that I followed years ago because he was one of the first dudes to turn half guard into an attacking position. Before that, it was like, you know, if your half guard you were basically half passed, right? Yeah. And he was in a bad motorcycle accident. Knees got all mangled up, and so he couldn't use full guard. So he's like, well, I can hang on to the leg. And boom, we get a half guard position. Yeah. You know, you look at my some of my like positions have come about because of like, for instance, my ability to defend like side control and mount submissions and things like that, which I don't ever. I'm sure it's probably happened. I can't remember ever being submitted as a black belt from like side control mount or ever done those positions. And you know, one of the things that happened was I was injured and I still wanted to roll. My knee was all like tweaked, but it wasn't really bad. I just couldn't drive off of it. Yeah. So I would lay on my back and I would just let people like try to submit me, and I basically would just defend with my arms. No leg drive. I just laying flat and I'm just doing this. And what happened was I got really good at defending submissions and keeping my arms in tight. So then when I came back to normal, when I had all my leg drive back, I mean, like basically if someone passed my guard, I was like, you're not submitting me because I've been here for 2 weeks and I've gotten to the point where even other black belts aren't submitting me left and right, and I know I can survive. You know, and so again, just like that, you had an injury, you had a wound to your body that then ended up creating some growth somewhere else, you know, because you chose to, you know, pivot and adjust to the situation rather than, you know, being upset or, you know, you basically ask yourself, well, what can I do? Yeah. Instead of saying, well, I can't do this. Well, what can you do? You know, and it really does a lot of times to me, like when you're playing that long game of anything, not just jiu-jitsu, this is anything, being able to adapt to the circumstances like that's important.
Yeah.
I'd agree. Yeah, that was the case here, and you know, I see that in other areas too. And you know, it's really interesting just seeing the growth. And I just hate that, you know, nobody likes injuries whatsoever. And you know, for me, it was pretty tough because I had like back-to-back injuries. But you know, I finally could kind of see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and then you know, to finish out this year, it was you know, it was huge. You know, and I just always believe that I'm a product of my environment, what I'm doing, you know, so I have to credit a lot of, you know, my training partners, everybody that I train with, from the white belt to the, you know, the little female blue belts that we have, you know, because it's funny, like when you do have an injury and you know, like, okay, well, I'm probably not going to go with this guy because he's just going to be a lot for me to handle, and he may not just respect the pace. He may just not, he's not there,
going back to the horse analogy, they don't have the ability to slow down a little bit. They just like to run.
Yeah. So, you know, and then obviously I would say that's very few people at our gym, but at the same time, you know, you have to be aware of it and conscious of it, especially the older you get, because I feel like the harder you train and the older you get, you're a little bit more prone and susceptible to injury. You know, maybe some underlying things that you may not be aware of that just pop up. You're like, oh, what the hell is this? You know, and so, but I'm glad that, in a way, I never thought I'd say this, that the outcome was the way it was, and now I'm sitting here looking and kind of reflecting back and talking to you guys about it, and knowing that, it was tough at the time, but now it's like it really wasn't that bad, because it could have been worse. You know, I've seen people with far worse injuries that are far more time off with surgeries and this and that. So I'm, you know, thankful and just glad that I'm here in one piece walking around.
Yeah, it's never easy going through it. You know, when you look back at it, and you're like, especially when you come out on top of it, you're like, all right, it wasn't too bad, you know, but during it sucks.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't talk about the mental aspect, and we talk about physical stuff all day, but the mental aspect, man, it's hard and it weighs on you. And, for me, I made a little post, like, I don't think people realize that, the physical side of things is one thing that we all deal with, and the mental as well. But, and that can be your breaking point, the mental part of it,
Sure.
For a lot of people. And, and I don't really put a lot on my performance as who I am as a person, but yet I try to make sure that if I'm not going out there and leaving all on that, because I have gone out there and kind of shortchanged myself and just been like, man, I didn't give it my all. I kind of, I like something just wasn't there, and which I think we all have those days and those times, those moments. But I'm kind of glad that we're moving into 2020, a new year. But
you've always been like a really good competitor. Like I don't know.
Oh, thanks.
You always have. I mean, you always win most of the time. I mean, you had like pretty much a flawless. You had a pretty much a flawless performance at the Worlds. I mean,
it was flawless.
Scored a bunch of
point.
points. Okay. Nobody scored on you, and then you finised both by submission. So
yeah,
I mean,
how many points you get in that one match? Was 14 or 16?
The first match.
The one you scored a ton on.
2 years ago at Pan Ams?
No,
or this year?
This year.
So the first guy...
Was it 14 or 16?
It was 12.
12.
With one advantage. And then the second guy was 13.
13. So
no points on me.
I was watching one of my matches where I had 14-0 and I got the submission, so I still got one more point. But
I'll just, I think that's a good time to bring this bad boy out here.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice. Let's see.
I've been waiting for the opportunity to bring that out.
That's awesome.
But no, it's funny. And the key to it, I think, is I appreciate you saying that. I don't think it's flawless. I still go back and look at, mistakes I made, but win or lose.
Yeah.
And the key thing, man, and for those of you listening out there, it's all about the grips, man. The grip battle, the grip fights. I allowed in my first match the guy to get a grip on me from a position where he was trying to elevate my hips. And I didn't feel 100% threatened by it because I re-gripped his grip, and then it just shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I got my grips, it was over with. But and then the same for the second guy, my finals match. He had a good, strong frame that I was trying to look for the opportunity to get the shot and to go for the takedown. No guard pulling here, not unless it's, a big guy. I say that now, but I can, do that at a later date. But for the most part, I like to go for the takedown, and you'll see that with a lot of masters, especially Master Worlds. You'll see guys just grip fighting forever, and then boom, it's either a sweep judo or it's a, low single, some kind of wrestling. But the same thing, man. I feel like I was able to dominate the grips. That I attribute that to a lot of the success. And the one grip that I had, from the position of getting to the back was consistent because I just randomly got I can't say randomly, but it felt randomly because I've just trained it over and over.
Yeah.
And then once I got that grip, it was just a matter of time before I got the submission. But, grips are everything, I think, especially if you don't respect them, then you'll pay for it. And, if you do, then you'll continue the fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was something we talked about leading up to it, was getting those, especially particular grips, making sure to deny certain ones and get the ones you wanted. That was something that we talked about. I mean, when you went out there, you pretty much executed everything to the T of what we had talked about. Like, it was it's fun. Like, there's some guys that, like, when you give them something, as students, you give them one thing and they just take it and they run with it.
Yeah.
And there's other people that you could lay it on a platter and they wouldn't take it.
Mm-hmm.
You're like one of the dudes where you can just give them like something. Here's a little something, and you'll just take it and you'll run with it and you'll just put it into execution. You'll drill it. You'll do all that stuff. And it's fun as a coach. It's fun because you get to see it like, there it is. Because you see, you're like, you know that if you give them something, they're going to use it because they're going to put it to use and they're going to train it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You want to do a couple questions?
We'll do a couple questions. So you guys been waiting around.
Sorry, there's a little bit of delay, I think, and this is our first time doing this.
There's a bunch of questions coming in.
Well, there's some questions. I want to read some of these messages, but you guys making fun of us. So
what are they making fun of us for?
Well, because one of them was like 3 dudes, 1 small table.
That's right. Thank you.
Big Iron
this
says,
is what I get for...
We should chip in and get them a table. All that badass equipment on grandmother's dinner table.
It actually is. That actually is,
people.
Listen, it's my grandma's old table.
Is this your grandma's old table?
It really is, man.
Big Iron called it.
Good work, bro.
So they were talking. Someone was like, "You guys are awfully close." I'm like, I mean, if we were
this
talking,
room is tiny.
I mean, well, no, it's like if we were in a conversation. I mean, I don't want to be across the room from you anyway. Like, hey, you know, I mean,
it's cozy, it's comfortable in here, and
Yeah.
there's enough space for 3 dudes and 3 mics and the camera.
3 dudes, 3 mics, 1 YouTube stream.
That's right.
There's a bunch of deleted messages. Let's see. Somebody said this. Somebody was asking about what I guess somewhere on some social media, Gordon Ryan retired.
yeah.
He's 24 years old.
Yeah.
He's not fucking retired.
I've seen that
Get
floating
outta
around.
here.
No, dude. If you know, the thing is I, you know, I don't know Gordon Ryan, so I don't know what's going on in the guy's head. But you know, I just have a hunch that he's probably, if there is a retirement post going around, he's not retiring.
No.
I mean, it's like, because here's the reason why. Unless something really serious is going on, like, how do you retire when you're like arguably one of the best, like, not arguably one of the best, but you're arguably the best guy in our sport right now, especially when you talk about, like, I mean, especially Nogi. Just, I mean, who's gonna, I mean, I mean, he literally is like, you can make an argument that he's the best guy in the Nogi right now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's very, very good. So how at 24 are you gonna just be like, I'm walking away? You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get, especially if you're a warrior, which he is, you're going to get pulled back in there because you're going to be like, man, look at those guys. Right? I can kill all those guys.
Yeah.
You're going to get pulled back in. Plus, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, if he did retire right now, sure, like, you know, for people to remember whatever. But again, his image would begin to fade as new people take his place. So he would have to come back and claim his throne. Well, he's the king.
They use the example of like 6-time ADCC champ versus 3-time ADCC champ, which is Galvao.
Yeah.
So Galvao's kind of the GOAT until you get that.
Yeah, Galvao's amazing.
I think here's the thing.
Well, weren't they supposed to fight
in 2 years? In 2 years, at 2021,
2021
ADCC.
Yeah.
So he pretty much, because he won, you know, absolute, so he gets to go against Galvao. And Galvao was going to retire, but I guess now he's not. Yeah. Which again, like, yeah, you should go.
It's so hard.
If Galvao's going to be there,
Bro,
it's
so hard. It's so hard for, I mean, you see this in every athlete, right? It's so hard for an athlete, a warrior, right? For that energy to be put down, you know, for them to put down their sword until, like, they've been beaten to the point where they know that, okay, this is done. Because again, the thing is, you and I both know this. Like, as you get older, you typically get wiser. You get a little bit more intelligent. You know what you're doing a little bit better. Yeah. But your body begins to go down. Sure. Right? So but there's a disconnect because you feel like, man, I feel better than ever. Yeah. And then, like, you feel smarter than ever, and then you get in there and you do something, you're like, oh, the body doesn't like that anymore. You know, it's just hard to do it. So if there is a retirement post, it also could be just simply for publicity. Yeah. You could be like, I'm retiring, you know,
I'm
like
calling bullshit on it, and I think that it's just to stir the pot because, you know, he's
maybe doing that, but, like,
gets on social media and
maybe he's bored.
Yeah,
maybe he's tired of winning. Like, they were talking about John Jones. They're talking about John Jones. Like, some of his performances weren't as good, and like Brendan Shaw was like, he's just playing with his food. And I thought it was a perfect analogy. He's just bored. He's playing with his food. He's like just seeing, you know, he's seeing if he can kind of. Eventually, you'll get caught in that situation if you compete like that.
Yeah,
you're
but
not
why
taking,
retire though?
Why? But what does he need to accomplish? I mean, he's beating everybody.
Well, the reality is, I mean, the thing is like, you know, so there becomes a thing where, well, like I guess I mean, if you're in that situation, you better make sure you're going to adjust to something else. Like, what are you going to do now? Because it's like, I mean, because everybody else picks up their lunch pail and goes to work. Like, what you going to do for work? Because you can't live off of your trappings forever, especially because it's just the way it is. It's like when you talk about athletes, people come and go, and people come up into the stardom and then they go down. You know, they're coming up, and unless you're doing something where you're, you know, building up other people that then are like, you know, John Donner is a great example. If he's building up other people that then are winning stuff, right? And they're constantly doing this. That's one thing. But if you are the athlete, you know, your star power goes away pretty quickly because, again, people have the attention span of gnats. You know, I mean, it is what it is. We live in a world of, like, you know, the news is on like a week long. Like, I mean, you think about it. Everybody's up in arms about some new thing every 2 weeks, and then it just changes from one to the next. The media just basically, well, they're not clicking on this anymore. Let's change the news subject. Hey guys, be worried or afraid about this. But you think about that, like, you think about how quick people's attention spans are. As soon as some young up-and-comer comes up, boom, oh, hey, this is the new guy. He's the new guy that's changing the game, whatever. You know, then you're like, oh, well, I'm focused on this guy now. Yeah. You know, I mean, because, dude, there's a million guys that are really good. But, I mean, again, not at the Gordon Ryan level, but I just couldn't imagine just giving it up now because you're just, again, is he bored? Yeah, but I mean, again, no matter what you do, everyone's going to get bored sometimes.
I think he's competed a lot. Like, he was injured.
I can see,
so he tried to make
see a
up
temporary retirement.
Sure.
I can see him say, you know what, man? I've got a couple nickels to rub together. I'm kind of like bored right now. You know what? I'm going to take a year off and I'm going to go like figure out. I'm going to go figure out who I am, what I'm doing, all that. I can see that kind of stuff. But it's saying like never compete again. You know, guys probably got another 60 to 70 years of life or something, whatever it is. Like, you think he's going to quit forever?
No, you can't. That itch, man. You don't get that way if you don't have that itch.
And that itch will come back. You might be bored now,
especially when you're 24.
Be out for a while. Yeah,
it's different if you're like 40. And
I think
40 years old, that stuff still comes back.
Yeah,
man. You see a 40-year-old, like if they could, they're still thinking about like, man, I wish I could get out there.
How old is Cyborg?
Huh?
How old's Cyborg? He's got to be late 30s.
He's got to be
probably late 30s, 40s.
And he's
30s,
still
early 40s.
murdering it.
He's got a heart arrhythmia or something going on. Like I was watching an interview with him and Muhammad Ali, and Cyborg Brewer was talking about how Muhammad's been trying to get him to go to the doctor and have surgery because basically his heart, he'll have this when he trains really hard, gets stressed out, he'll have this arrhythmia where his heart's all over the place with his rhythm.
Can have a heart attack. With that shit.
And so he said like they've been telling him he needs to get heart surgery, but he's like I'll get it soon, maybe whatever so.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Back to the retirement thing is you see this in other industries too. It's like how many bands out there or celebrities. They're like, oh, I'm retiring or I'm on my farewell tour, and it's like the farewell tour lasts for 5 years. And then there really is no farewell tour. It's just, I don't know, but I see this as just, I mean, I could be wrong when people would call me out, but I just think it's a publicity thing. I don't think he's really going to retire. And if he does, then, it'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds. But I don't think so.
Well, another thing is we live in a thing where people just, and I'm not saying that this is it because I don't know the whole situation. I don't follow him on Instagram or anything like that, right? Like, but if people have a thought, like just vomit it out, right? Instead of like,
there's
maybe
no filter.
Yeah, there's no filter. Like some people, like you look at like certain people in the media and in politics and everything else, where it's like whatever they decide to throw out, they don't even think about it. It's like just throw it out there. Just I'm gonna vomit out stuff and not even gonna think about what's gonna happen next. And it's like maybe you should ponder on that thought a little bit before you post that out to the world.
It's like before when you did that, like there were so many channels you have to go through to get that information out. Mm-hmm. Like now it's just like instantly, which is millions of people get it,
which is kind of a good thing, right? I like the idea that we don't have a gatekeeper, but the problem is I feel like people should practice a modicum of just thought before you begin to like post stuff out, because you're thinking like would you share this with someone right in front of you? Would you? Like, would you just start talking about in a group of people? Would you be doing that? Like, that's the way that I think about it, right? So, for instance, if I'm on social media and, like, if I'm going to post back to, so let's say if I disagree with someone, I'm going to write it in a way that if that person was in front of me, I could say that to them. Because, again, especially in jiu-jitsu, it's a pretty small niche. Mm-hmm. Like, you'll see people all the time. So I would try to say it in a way that I could speak to you face to face. Plus, it's like, I don't want to speak in a way that I wouldn't do it in person anyway, right? Why? To me, it just makes you a coward because then you're talking shit on the internet, right? But otherwise, even like a post. If I'm going to make a post, it should be something that I'm willing to say in front of people. I don't want to make some posts where then like I had like, oh, it was just the internet. You have to make those kinds of excuses. It's like, no, like we live in a sort of a dual world now where it's like half virtual, half real, right? Where like we, if your buddy, your best friend in the world, all of a sudden kicked you off, like he unfriended you, you would be like, text him, bro, what's up? What's wrong? Do you not like me anymore?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
It has weight to it. And I think that, people, the way that they treat their social media presence or the way that they talk online, it's honestly, in a lot of cases, it's incredibly disgusting. Because I look at it and I'm like, especially when you look at, even in jiu-jitsu forums and stuff, you're like, bro, like, you're gonna talk trash to someone like that? It's like, I bet you wouldn't do that in person. If you had kids, you'd probably tell your kids not to talk like that.
Yeah.
But you're gonna trash someone on the internet. Like you can't even like have a civil discussion about something. It's absurd.
Because there's no repercussions.
I know, and to me, it's like, if that's the reason why you're saying that, it makes you kind of a coward because you're hiding behind a keyboard.
You
became a keyboard warrior. Congratulations. It's like, to me, it's like you should exercise the same level of control that you would in person with the way that you speak to people online. And it's amazing. It really is amazing, because even when you do it, I'll have people that will message me sometimes, or I'll jump into a thread sometimes, and you'll see they're like, blah, 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 like getting angry, and then you just come in and like, open up the door for conversation. And it's amazing how much even it can diffuse the situation. Not always, but sometimes where like people go, oh, okay, well, yeah, well, what I was thinking. Then you start just chatting with someone. And, again, I think that we have to be able to communicate with people, whether it be in person or online, and just open the door for conversation instead of trying to yell at everyone.
Well, yeah, it's not attack. Try not to attack people. Just be like, okay, where are you coming from? Here's where I'm coming from. Let's see if we can.
Why? And why would you do it anyway? What do you get from it?
Some people are angry. They want to take their, some people are angry. They like to kick their dog. Some people are angry. They like to get on the internet.
That's a good technique, being able to defuse those situations. And when you ask how and what
and
questions,
why?
no,
how,
not
what,
why,
why,
not what. How did you come to that
conclusion? How and what?
What was it that you saw that made that a challenge or whatever?
Yeah.
It's how, what, and not why. You kind of stay away from why, but just from books that I've read, I've come to understand that in communication.
Well, even really just to me, going about the world with a level of curiosity where, again, you don't want to, Chris Dukes and I were talking about this, you don't want to be so open-minded that your brain falls out, but you don't want to be so closed off that nothing comes in. Because you want to be open to what possibilities, because, dude, there's been so many times where, whether talking to someone at the gym or just wherever, I'll get a perspective on something that I haven't ever heard before, and it changes my mind about something. And I'm like, I never saw it that way. Like, I appreciate you giving me some input, because, again, I was sometimes resistant to ideas, but then I hear something, I'm like, well, that makes sense, and that changes my mind. It doesn't work for everything, but again, I'll at least hear it. And who's to say I'm right? Basically, each one of us have a different subjective experience. Right. And each one of those experiences is right to us, but they're different, and they have different views and everything else.
I don't think we have any more questions.
All right.
It was kind of a surprise. Anything coming up? You guys are doing your Pura Vida Costa Rica. Tell us about that really quick, Justin, just if people are interested, because I think for this year it's closed off, correct?
Yeah, we have maxed out as far as the amount of people that can go on the Costa Rica trip. Awesome. But been doing it for 5 years now. Basically, to in a nutshell, it is a vacation in Costa Rica, in Tamarindo. And it's basically from Saturday to Saturday. This year it's January 18th to the 25th, typically every year. So for next year in 2021, it'll be usually the second, third, towards the end of January. And it's a vacation where you train twice a day. We do no-gi in the morning. We do gi in the evening. And it's led by Sean Hammonds. I'm fortunate enough to have Chewy come along. He's been on the trip 4 times now.
Yeah, 4 times.
4 times.
And I think I'm doing some of the Nogi sessions this year.
He's teaching some Nogi stuff this year, and have Kenny Degenhart, who's been on the trip like 4 or 5 times. A lot of repeat customers, guests, Ethan and Liz Benda.
Steve.
Steve from the UK.
Right,
I'm glad to have Steve come again. I think it's his 4th time, 3rd or 4th time.
Third,
I think it's 3rd. People just, I feel like when they, and Chewy, I'm sure we'll add to this, but when you go on this trip, basically it's a vacation where you get to go to Costa Rica. You can learn to surf. You can do a lot of activities, a lot of different stuff a la carte if you want to. It's pretty affordable. It's $1,200. Does not include the airfare. But it does include a lot of other stuff as far as the training and getting to and from the airport, and just the accommodations. We're in a real nice condo, and it's really close to the facility where we train at. It's like less than 300 meters. And then the town of Tamarindo, if you've never been to Costa Rica, it has anything and everything that you want. It's about a half a mile away to the beach, so you have beach access. We all walk there as a big group, or even if we get split up. Tons of stuff to choose from. And it's just an awesome time. It's an awesome trip. It was something that I put together, started in 2015 after I went on a retreat myself in 2014. And, for the folks out there that are obviously, train jiu-jitsu, we train 10 times in a week. So that's probably more than what most people are used to. So it's a lot of training. You get a lot of time on the mat, a lot of time to talk with all the black belts. I believe we've got 4 black belts going this year: Chewy, Sean, Rich Shabowski, and Kenny. And actually had 5 originally, but now it's just down to the 4 black belts. But it's a great time, man. And there's stuff on social media. The company's called Pura Vida BJJ and Surf, or Costa Rica BJJ and Surf. And we do it every year, and it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I think last year I had just under 20. This year it's at 35.
Yeah.
So that's where I cap it at.
Awesome.
So, and it's just, it's growing. And the thing I want to make sure people enjoy themselves in Costa Rica, whether they've been there or they've never been there. And, you get plenty of training. And, I feel like every time I go, I always take something away, at least 2 or 3 things. And, I've added it to different parts of my training and my game. But, yeah, man, we got to get you there eventually.
I'm gonna try. Once everything slows down a little bit and I have a little money.
Yeah, and if you guys are thinking about going to it, because I get this thing because I post about it. There was a guy who posted a year ago, right? He said, about a year and a half ago, it's like, oh man, I really wish I could come next year. I'm gonna come, and then same guy posts, next year. I'm like, dude, just prepare for it. Right. If you guys are listening to this and that Costa Rica idea sounds fun to you, it's a really cool trip. It's not expensive. You can save up money. I mean, save up one night at the bar or something, once a month or something, and boom, you have enough money to come next year. But if you save up a little bit of money for it, come to it. It's a blast. I mean, again, once you're there, you don't spend a ton of money. You buy some dinners and stuff like that, but I mean, you're spending so much time hanging out and training and whatever else. And like I said, the accommodations are nice. It's super comfortable there while you're out there, and everything's so close by. Everything's within walking distance, and there's so many activities in that town. It's a lot of fun. So we had a blast in Tamarindo last year, and me and Jess, my girlfriend, she comes with me, every year, and she trains a little bit. She doesn't train as hard as I do or anything like that. But again, even if you have a significant other that doesn't train, Ethan. One of the guys that's been training with us there, I think it's just 4th, 5th year, whatever.
I believe it's, it might be 5th year.
2016 was the first one, yeah. So he, I think 4th time.
5th, yeah. I think it's their 5th year.
So he's been coming, and when he comes in, man, his wife, Liz, she doesn't train. She doesn't, she does fitness type stuff and lifts weights, but she doesn't do jiu-jitsu, and they still hang out and they have a friggin' blast. I mean, they're it's their thing, man. They look forward to it every year. They come down there a week early, hang out with you guys and stuff. And so even in those situations, you can bring people, but it's a lot of fun. So I encourage you guys to check it out, just because we have a blast.
Yeah. So your significant other, basically, if they don't train, it's usually less than half the original price of someone who is training. And we got a lot of couples this year. I'm really stoked to see that, because what that's telling me is hey, the wife or the husband or whomever it is that doesn't train is saying, hey, yeah, let's do this vacation. You go do jiu-jitsu. I'm going to go over here and, shop or do yoga sit at the pool. And I mean, yeah. And so it's, for a couple that does train, it's ideal. We have a couple of those. And, for the person that maybe is just kind of the hobbyist that wants to come and just train, that doesn't compete, and just say, man, come to Costa Rica. If you want to go out one day and go surfing, or you want to go out and go fishing, if that's your thing, you have, those options. And I tell you, it's funny, usually about day 3, I'm sure Chewy sees this too, is you'll see a little bit of a drop off in the afternoon or the morning class, because it's a lot. It's a lot of training, and you need that back to the recovery. And so there's plenty of stuff to recover with, sun and beach time and pool time. And because the trainings, I try to make them somewhat light in the mornings, where it's just, hey, let's just have fun. It's no gi, nothing super hard, where the gi trainings are a little bit more geared towards kind of upping it up, or upping the training a little bit harder, because it is in the evening. But it's just awesome, and we've got some new things in store this year. We're just constantly trying to improve it. I've got a partner now, this guy named Ron Jarman, which is kind of a funny story how we met, but he works with Hero Academy that's down in Tamarindo. So for those of you that whether you go on this retreat or not, or if you just want to go visit Costa Rica and you're in Tamarindo, please stop by the Hero Academy. It's run by
Ron owns he runs a bunch of different camps.
Ron is definitely one of the guys that's helping Rome. Rome Za is the owner of and the founder of Hero Academy. It's a nonprofit which they help a lot of the kids there in Costa Rica, and man, their jiu-jitsu program is huge. It's probably one of the biggest I've seen. And even there in Nosara, the Nosara BJJ is where I started the retreat in the town of Nosara at another facility. But they got it. I'm seeing from the time that I went there originally in 2014, 2015, there was no jiu-jitsu there. It was zero. And now it's grown, and there's kids and there's adults doing it, and there's they have purple belts training now, and And so, you know, and that was just in the little town of Nosara. But, and, you know, Tamarindo had a little jiu-jitsu presence there, not like it does now. So I like to see that. I like to see it evolve. I like to see it grow. And especially when those communities and what they're doing, they're giving back too. So that makes it even, you know, that much sweeter.
That's
cool.
deal.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's fun. And you guys have a great time, and I'm jealous. But
yeah, and it's a good break to get out of the cold. So wherever you're at, if you're somewhere cold in this winter, it's, you know, it's an awesome time to get out of the cold and the snow and go somewhere where it's like 88 degrees and warm, and you have different problems. Sunburns.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's nice. Weather's nice. So, Chewy, any announcements for anyone?
Announcements.
Anything coming up?
Yeah, so I'm going to be at the Costa Rica trip in January. And just a couple things to keep your guys' eyes out on. I don't know yet, but we're having JT Torres to our gym in March. And I'm probably going to open up a few spots to people online. You know, from outside of the gym, I'm going to limit that, but we'll have a few spots available for that, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And then it's still preliminary yet, but I just want to throw this out there. My buddy and I, Brandon McGaffron, we're going to do a seminar together, like a camp, sort of a multi-day seminar thing up in Chicago, probably sometime in April.
Nice.
So if you guys are interested in that and you guys live in the Chicago area and you'd like to get together and train, that's something that you guys can kind of keep your eyes out on. Because, again, I'd like to kind of meet some of the people that watch me in videos and stuff like that. And so I know not everybody can haul their butts down to Kentucky, but Chicago is kind of an easy place to get to pretty much anywhere in the country. You can get to Chicago because it's a short flight for most places, or it's a cheap flight. So just kind of keep your eyes out on that. But those are the kind of few things that we have going on right now. So,
Justin, anything?
No, just thanks for having me on, and I appreciate it. And
you're a beast.
Yeah, man, I love tuning into your podcast.
Thank you.
So I'm happy to be on it.
Patreon, as always, Chewy. Patreon.com/the Chewjitsu Podcast for stuffs.
Yeah, so guys, if you want to support the podcast and get some extra stuff, we always talk about this stuff on the podcast, but since we're live on YouTube right now, let's do it here. If you guys want to support the podcast, you can do so by checking out the Patreon that we have, patreon.com/the Chewjitsu Podcast. On there we have some extra content that we give away for free when you guys join. Well, not for free, but we give it away in exchange for you joining and supporting the podcast. Both audio clips, stuff that we don't put on the actual podcasts themselves. There's some videos there as well. You can get that super cheap, so check that out. And also, guys, we're sponsored by Charlotte's Web. It's a CBD company. It's the one that I use at home. I use the CBD gummies. I have the ones that I like. I like the turmeric, the ginger one, turmeric ginger ones, the recovery, and I like the raspberry melatonin ones. Those are sleepy ones. I'm a big fan of it. If you go to charlottesweb.com, you can use the promo code Chewjitsu and save 15%. I say this as a disclaimer because I know sometimes, again, there's so many people that are out there just trying to, screw people over for a buck. I don't care what CBD you use. Use whatever the heck you want to. Just make sure you get it from a reputable company, because if you get it from like gas station CBD stuff, you have no clue what you're actually putting in there. And because it's unregulated, you have no clue what you're actually getting. You could be getting CBD, you could be getting THC, you could be getting whatever the heck they put in that thing. So you just want to make sure you get it from a good company where the stuff's been tested, so you can say, well, again, because just like we were talking about racehorses, talking about eating the same foods because it makes you feel better. I want to know that if I'm putting this in me, that I'm going to be getting consistent results if I feel good. And it's been that way. So if I feel good from, for certain reasons, whether it be helping me sleep or just kind of recovering and things like that, then I know that I'm going to get the same consistent result from using that same product, because I know it's the same stuff. It's not something where, they've made some bathtub CBD in their backyard and they're selling it.
Bathtub.
You know what I mean? Like, just, again,
stuff.
Whatever.
Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in. And as always, appreciate the support. Thanks to our patrons for supporting us always and helping the podcast grow. Even though we have a little grandma table, it's our table and we love it. All you jerks.
But eventually it's not going to be a grandma table. And then they'll be like, oh, look at those assholes. Look at that expensive table they have there. Must be nice making the podcast money. Right? Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Right? Like,
hey, if you don't like our table, send us a table. I'll give you the address.
Yeah, go send us a table.
I send you location.
I send you location. You turn into a Russian guy now.
No, Khabib, send location.
Send location. Oh, okay.
I'll send location. So you can
bring the grandma table.
Yeah, we'll send you our P.O. box and you can send us a table. I don't think it fitted P.O. box.
That wouldn't fit in a P.O. box. P.O. box?
Yeah,
P.O. box?
No.
All right. See you guys next time. Bye.